Mysterious creatures can be found in almost any part of the Earth. From legends of the Scottish Loch Ness Monster to the North American Bigfoot, there's no shortage of strange and bizarre creatures that can be found anywhere you look, and Japan is no exception. With that said, we invite you to join us as we take a look at the 5 most mysterious creatures caught in Japan. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Whale-like creature. There are many stories of creatures or unidentified things that wash up on shorelines or beaches. Sometimes these creatures can be identified, and sometimes they look like things out of a science fiction novel or some kind of horror film where the creature suddenly comes to life and eats the villagers or something like that. There's a video and photos that exist of a creature that some say washed up on a beach somewhere in Japan after the tsunami hit the island in 2011. However, there are other reports that this thing, whatever it is, washed up on the beach before this, sometime in 2010. We don't claim to know the facts, we just try to find them. Whatever the real story is, what is certain is that a giant white rock or blob that apparently smelled really bad washed up on shore. So what exactly is this thing? There have been many stories of these things showing up on beaches in different parts of the world. People that see them try to figure out what they are, but they're unrecognizable without any eyes or mouth or any other features that would resemble some type of animal or creature. They do have a name though, and it looks like the scientific community calls these things globsters. Or blobsters. They're large masses of organic remains, and the term was coined by cryptozoologist by the name of Ivan Sanderson. What they are is anyone's guess until we get some samples from them. Of course, more fantastical judges looking at the remains will say that it's an unknown creature, maybe a giant octopus or some unknown or new animal species. Unraveling the mystery of some of these only requires taking a sample, in which some of the globsters were actually the rotting remains of some whale. Interestingly enough, some of these samples also show that the remains are from some giant shark. Megalodon stories start to come to mind. What most people are seeing is the blubber or the collagen of a whale that has died, and this blob continues to float around long after the rest of the creature's decomposed. So what washes up on beaches and shores is a giant blob of fat from a leftover animal. Globster soup, anyone? Number 4. Flatworm-like creature. It's interesting to know that the Earth's oceans have only been 5% explored. Just 5%, that's all. So there's no telling what's down there in this undiscovered world. The reason we've only discovered such a small portion is because of how treacherous the ocean is, and how difficult it is to get to the crushing depths of the bottom of ocean canyons and floors. But once in a while we find something, or something ends up coming to us which is entirely new and different. In 2017, Japanese researchers ended up discovering some new species of marine worm which they named Xenoturbella japonica. That might sound boring because worms are worms, right? Well, not this critter. In fact, this worm might be something left over from a prehistoric age. Dredging the sea floor in the Western Pacific, researchers found just 2 of them. One larger female and one young juvenile only about 1 centimeter in length. Both of the worm-like creatures were a pale orange color, and they had an oval-shaped mouth and some sort of glandular network on the bottom surface of the creature. So that doesn't sound too strange until you start to try to figure out where the rest of the worm is. This specimen lacks the normal features of common animals in that it doesn't have a nervous system, kidneys, or even an anus. Can we say that? Meaning that its digestive system only has 1 opening. And if you think about that really hard for a moment, it's a bit disgusting. The worm is being considered a primitive species that was left behind when the evolution train left the station. Most other creatures in the genre would have evolved into the complex creatures that we see today in the world. The worms feed on mussels or clams and several other species of marine bivalves. Why these creatures have not evolved remains a mystery. However, other species of this Xenoturbella have evolved over time. Now, scientists think they can solve some evolutionary questions as to why some species evolved, and this one decided it's okay only having one opening for all of its functions. Number 3. Kushi, the giant lake monster. It seems like there's some kind of giant lake monster everywhere you look. And with Japan being the islands it is and surrounded by water, it would also make sense that there would be some kind of water monsters lurking around somewhere. And now Japan has its own Loch Ness monster. No, it's not Gojira, that's another story. This creature has been affectionately named Kushi, and the lake monster has been sighted many times in Lake Kushiro near the northern island of Hokkaido, Japan, where the monster obviously gets its name from. This Lake Kushiro is found within Akan National Park in the East Hokkaido, and it gets its name from the Ainu word Kuchero, which actually means it's a place where the lake becomes a river and flows out. The interesting thing about this lake is that it's a caldera lake, which means it formed in the crater of a massive volcano a long time ago. It's 57 kilometers in diameter and has a depth of 117 meters. The lake is the largest lake in Japan and the 6th largest lake in the country. So, with having said all this, the possibility of the lake holding some prehistoric monster is good. Sightings have described Kushi as being as long as 10 to 20 meters. That's about 30 to 60 feet, and many say the creature's dark brown, which is a weird color for a water creature. Its head is said to look like a horse's head, but larger, with silver eyes. Some have said the creature even has 2 horns like a giraffe on its head. The creature also makes some grunting and clicking noises. Another strange account of many of the witnesses is how they said they felt when seeing the monster. Some said they felt uncomfortable or uneasy and disturbed. And while those are probably normal feelings when you see some monster appear in a lake you happen to be near, the actual word that the witnesses used was icky. Kushi can swim very fast, and there's some footage of the monster taken in 1974, which shows something in the water moving across the lake at a high speed. Apparently, 15 people on a boat were surprised by the creature with glistening scales and shiny skin. Another witness in 1988 was in a motorboat and said they saw something in the water that was pacing the boat. The animal, or perhaps Kushi, kept up with the boat and, after following him a long time, disappeared beneath the water. Number 2. The mysterious Tsuchinoko. This next creature is a well-known and established creature that comes from Japanese mythology. In fact, you might have seen it in Metal Gear Solid 3. Some think that it lives in the forest and the mountains of Honshu, Shikoku, and the Kyushu Islands. They are also thought to inhabit some parts of the Korean peninsula. The name of this creature, Tsuchinoko, translates to hammer's spawn. It's supposed to be some small snake-looking creature and can be found in one of the oldest surviving books in Japan called the Kojiki. The book is from the 8th century, and somewhere inside it is mention of this cryptid. It's an odd-looking creature that can be 1 to 3 feet long, but its body is a lot bigger than its head or its tail. So in other words, it looks like a snake that's just swallowed something, only much shorter. It has other strange features, such as a grinning mouth, and it has horns right above its eyes. Speaking of its eyes, they're supposed to be mesmerizing or hypnotic, but the really weird thing that you never hear is the smell that's associated with some cryptids. The Tsuchinoko apparently smells like chestnut tree flowers. This means that somewhere, somehow, someone got close enough to one of them and decided to smell the creature. Like a flower. That would be kinda stupid, since this snake is also rumored to have long fangs and very powerful venom. And while a small, slug-like looking snake doesn't sound like anything too scary and smells like some flower, it gets better. It is claimed that the Tsuchinoko has the ability to jump up to 3 feet. And of course, as myth would have it, they're also known to swallow their tail and roll along the ground in a hoop shape to get around. It's also believed that they can talk but love to lie and also enjoy a little alcohol. Number 1. Haibagan, Japanese Bigfoot. And lastly, in the where hasn't this cryptid been seen department, Japan also has its own Bigfoot. You've got your North American Sasquatch or skunk apes, the Himalayas have the Yeti, and the Orang-Pedek from Southeast Asia. So why not Japan? The Japanese Bigfoot also has its own name and is known as the Haibagan, and it can be found lurking around and avoiding cameras in Mount Haiba in northern Hiroshima, where it gets its name. This Hybagon is smaller than the Sasquatch of Northern America and is only around 5 feet tall, weighing no more than 150 pounds, and has a reddish brown or black hair. It has a patch of white fur either on its chest or its arms. Witnesses say it's a foul-smelling beast and its face is covered in bristles and has a snub nose and intelligent, glaring eyes. The more that you hear about the Hybagon, the more it sounds like an ape than a Sasquatch being described as looking more like some giant monkey or gorilla. Sightings say the creature walks upright like humans but can also move rather quickly on all 4 limbs, and some say the animal was hopping like a small monkey. Apparently, the creature has no fear of humans, but it's very shy when it comes to cameras. The creature's been sighted though, which started in 1970 and lasted until 1812. The earliest encounter with the animal was when a group of elementary school students were in the forest of Mount Hyba picking mushrooms, and were terrified by an ape-like creature which came crashing through the brush nearby. That same year, a truck driver reported seeing a gorilla-like creature walking on 2 legs across a field near a dam. It then ran across the road and disappeared into the forest. Then, another sighting just days later by a farmer said that the creature just appeared out of the brush and long grass and looked like a hairy man with glaring intelligent eyes and a grotesque face. It was again sighted walking through a rice paddy farm in a small town called Saijo at just about the same time as the other sightings. During this time, reports of the creature were becoming well publicized, and along with this, the residents were growing uneasy about when and where the creature would pop up next. Hope you enjoyed the video, Top 5ers. If you haven't already, check out our other channel, Americano, to enjoy even more amazing list videos. There'll be a link in the description, so check it out, as well as our other